From a young age, my parents impressed on me.
And Barack and I were raised with so many of the same values.
Your word is your bond, and you do what you say and keep your promise.
That you treat people with dignity and respect.
The summer of 2016 was charged with excitement and tension as the Republican National Convention transformed Cleveland into the center of the political world. Delegates filled the arena, cameras flashed endlessly, and millions of Americans watched closely, waiting to witness the personalities who would shape the next chapter of the nation. Amid the spectacle, one figure quietly captivated attention: Melania Trump. For many, this was the first time she appeared not merely as Donald Trump's glamorous wife, but as a woman stepping into the role of the future First Lady of the United States. The expectations were enormous. Could she command the stage with poise? Would her words reflect her own perspective, or simply echo the campaign's message? The cameras zoomed in on her elegant presence, while commentators and social media speculated endlessly about what she might say. Melania's entrance was magnetic. Dressed with understated sophistication, she carried herself with a calm confidence that contrasted the whirlwind of the convention. Every gesture, every measured step toward the podium suggested a woman conscious of history, aware of the scrutiny awaiting her words. She was no longer just a spouse of a candidate, she was a public figure poised to define her own narrative. When she began to speak, her voice was calm, measured, and deliberate. For the first time, millions heard her perspective on family social responsibility and her role alongside Donald Trump. The audience leaned in, eager to capture not just the content of her speech, but the subtleties of her tone, her pauses, and her expressions. Media outlets dissected every line while viewers debated her style and sincerity. In that moment, Melania's presence became a story in itself, a story of grace, influence, and the careful crafting of public identity. What made her speech remarkable was not just the words she chose, but the human dimension behind them. Melania embodied the tension between private devotion and public expectation, between personal identity and national attention. She was acutely aware that every move was being scrutinized, every gesture analyzed, and yet she projected calm confidence and control. By the end of her address, she had transcended the role of candidate's wife to become an emerging public figure whose voice would be closely watched for years to come. The 2016 Republican National Convention was more than a political event. It was a cultural moment that introduced Melania Trump to the American public in a commanding, unforgettable way. Her speech captured attention, sparked debate, and signaled the beginning of her journey on the national stage. In that summer of spectacle and anticipation, Melania stepped forward not just as a figure beside a candidate, but as a woman beginning to shape her own story, one that would intertwine with the country's history in ways the world was only beginning to see. Before we dive into this captivating story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of our exclusive stories about power, wealth, and the hidden truths behind the world's most talked about figures. When Melania Trump took the podium at the 2016 Republican National Convention, the air was thick with expectation. Millions of Americans were tuning in, eager to hear the words of a woman who would soon step into the nation's most visible and scrutinized role, First Lady of the United States. Her speech promised a personal perspective, a reflection not only of her husband's candidacy, but of the values she held dear. From the very first sentence, it was clear that her message was built around admiration, family, and character. She spoke of Donald Trump with reverence, portraying him as a man of vision and strength, someone devoted not only to his own ambitions, but to the betterment of the country. There was a personal warmth in her tone, a sense that she was speaking from the heart about a partner she had supported through the highs and lows of life in the public eye. Beyond praise for her husband, Melania emphasized the ideals that she believed were foundational to American life. She spoke passionately about family, framing it as the bedrock of society and the source of resilience, guidance, and moral grounding. She highlighted the importance of education, portraying it as a pathway not only to personal success, but to the ability to contribute meaningfully to one's community. And woven through her remarks was a call to kindness and respect, values she framed as essential for nurturing both strong families and a strong nation. Her speech, in its structure and tone, sought to strike a balance between personal narrative and public aspiration, blending the warmth of a spouse's admiration with the solemnity of someone stepping into a historic national role. Yet what should have been a straightforward introduction of a future First Lady to the American public quickly became the center of controversy. Observers noticed an uncomfortable echo in her words as several passages closely mirrored a speech delivered years earlier by Michelle Obama at the Democratic National Convention. Phrases and sentence structures bore a striking resemblance, and critics and commentators seized upon the similarities, igniting a debate about originality, authorship, and the pressures of political messaging. Some argued that the resemblance was unintentional, a coincidence born from the commonality of certain rhetorical themes in political speeches. Others insisted it represented a clear case of plagiarism, a misstep that raised questions about the speechwriting process and the preparation Melania had received. The controversy added a new dimension to the public's perception of the speech. Suddenly, attention was split between the heartfelt messages of family education and kindness and the more uncomfortable discussion of borrowed language. News outlets highlighted side-by-side comparisons, and social media erupted with analysis memes and heated commentary. Every pause, every inflection of her voice, every gesture was now under the microscope, not only for the content she delivered, but for what it revealed about authenticity, preparation, and the pressures facing someone entering such a hyper-visible role. In this way, a single speech became both an introduction and a test, a moment to observe her demeanor under scrutiny, to see how she managed the collision of personal expression and public expectation. Yet even amidst the criticism, there was a sense that Melania's presence and delivery communicated more than words on a page could capture. The speech revealed a woman negotiating an impossible balance, honoring her husband, asserting her values, and navigating the intense gaze of a nation eager to judge every nuance. The admiration for family, the emphasis on education, and the call for kindness resonated with viewers who sought a glimpse of the human being behind the title of candidate's wife. At the same time, the controversy over the borrowed passages reminded the public of the challenges inherent in politics, where every sentence is dissected, every phrase compared, and every gesture analyzed for meaning. Ultimately, Melania Trump's speech at the Republican National Convention was a complex moment of introduction, aspiration, and controversy. It sought to convey love, values, and vision, but it also highlighted the intense scrutiny that accompanies any public act in modern American politics. Her words, both celebrated and critiqued, offered a glimpse into the dual realities she would face as First Lady: the challenge of communicating personal authenticity while navigating the relentless demands of a national stage, and the constant interplay between public perception and private intention. In that moment, the world saw Melania not just as a political spouse, but as a figure stepping into history, learning to walk the tightrope between admiration and criticism, message and misstep, presence and perception, all in the span of a single unforgettable speech. Almost immediately after Melania Trump delivered her speech at the 2016 Republican National Convention, the reaction from the media was swift and intense. Within minutes, headlines began to appear across major news outlets, each one dissecting her every word, gesture, and pause. The speech, meant to introduce the future First Lady to the American public, became a lightning rod for controversy. Journalists and commentators alike noticed striking similarities between passages in her address and portions of a speech delivered years earlier by Michelle Obama at the Democratic National Convention. The discovery sparked an avalanche of articles, analyses, and opinion pieces, each scrutinizing the parallels in phrasing and structure. Some of the headlines were nothing short of sensational, designed to grab attention and provoke reaction. One particularly bold example read, "Melania Trump accused of plagiarizing Michelle Obama's speech," a line that immediately circulated across both traditional and digital platforms. Television networks ran segments comparing the text side by side, while political talk shows debated the implications of the apparent mimicry. On cable news, pundits and anchors replayed video clips of both speeches, pausing repeatedly to highlight identical turns of phrase, and audiences were invited to weigh in on whether the similarities were coincidental or deliberate. The coverage was relentless, capturing the attention of millions and ensuring that the story would dominate news cycles for days to come. As the story exploded in traditional media, it found an even more frenetic life on social media platforms. Twitter feeds, Facebook timelines, and Instagram posts filled with screenshots, memes, and GIFs illustrating the overlap between Melania's words and Michelle Obama's. Users shared side-by-side comparisons highlighting phrases such as values education and family, or work hard and be kind, prompting thousands of retweets, likes, and comments within hours. The controversy became a viral phenomenon, with hashtags trending nationally and even internationally, drawing attention from political observers, media commentators, and ordinary citizens alike. Social media transformed the event from a single speech into a communal debate, with users dissecting every line, speculating about speechwriters, and questioning the authenticity of Melania's message. The viral spread of the story was accelerated by the very nature of online platforms, where rapid sharing, algorithmic amplification, and user engagement magnify even minor controversies. Each retweet, share, or comment acted like a ripple in a pond, carrying the story further and faster than traditional media could have achieved alone. Memes juxtaposing Melania and Michelle Obama proliferated, often with biting humor, and opinionated threads sparked hours-long discussions about political ethics, originality, and the pressures of public life. The story was no longer just about a speech. It became a reflection of how modern media and social networks can amplify, distort, and transform a moment into a global conversation almost instantaneously. Amid the viral frenzy, public reactions varied widely. Some defended Melania, suggesting the resemblance was coincidental or the result of well-intentioned speechwriting assistance, while others criticized her for a lack of authenticity and originality. The debate extended beyond politics into cultural commentary about women in the public eye, the expectations of first ladies, and the intense scrutiny that accompanies any public appearance. Every news cycle renewed the conversation, and social media ensured that the discussion remained alive around the clock, with new analyses, memes, and critiques emerging daily. In retrospect, the media and social media storm surrounding Melania's speech highlighted not only the intensity of political scrutiny, but also the dynamics of information dissemination in the digital age. What might have once been a brief localized story became an international spectacle, amplified by the interconnected web of traditional journalism, social media virality, and public fascination. The plagiarism allegations dominated conversations, but they also provided a window into the broader expectations placed on public figures, the relentless nature of modern news cycles, and the ways in which a single speech can become a defining moment, celebrated, dissected, and debated long after the applause has faded. In the end, Melania Trump's 2016 convention speech was remembered not just for its content, but for the media maelstrom. It unleashed a vivid example of how modern political communication and digital culture collide in real time. The public reaction to Melania Trump's 2016 Republican National Convention speech was immediate, polarized, and intense, spilling across social media platforms in a wave of opinions that seemed impossible to contain. Within hours of the speech, millions of Twitter posts, Facebook comments, and Instagram discussions erupted, reflecting the raw, unfiltered spectrum of American public sentiment. For some, the speech was a shocking moment, a glaring example of what they saw as blatant plagiarism. Side-by-side comparisons with Michelle Obama's previous convention address fueled these accusations, and hashtags condemning the speech surged across platforms, often accompanied by GIFs, memes, and biting commentary. Critics labeled the speech a copy-and-paste misstep, questioning Melania's authenticity, her credibility, and the legitimacy of her role in a campaign that had already drawn intense scrutiny. The language of the criticism was sharp sometimes, merciless, reflecting the unrelenting expectations placed on public figures, particularly women stepping into historically scrutinized roles. Yet alongside the criticism, a wave of defense emerged, equally fervent. Many social media users and commentators rushed to Melania's side, emphasizing the fact that she was a newcomer to the political stage, entering a world where every gesture, word, and pause is dissected and judged. They argued that the resemblance to Michelle Obama's speech was a minor oversight, at worst a coincidence at best, and certainly not a reflection of intent to deceive. Supporters highlighted the pressures of public speaking, the challenges of crafting a speech under intense political and media scrutiny, and the inherent difficulty of navigating a hyper-visible debut. For them, the speech was less a scandal and more a moment of human vulnerability, a reminder that even those in the most glamorous and scrutinized positions are still learning, still adapting, and still finding their footing. The online discourse quickly transformed into a battleground of perspectives, with sharp lines drawn between those who interpreted the similarities as an ethical lapse and those who framed it as an understandable misstep. Memes, opinion threads, and viral posts reflected both sides. Some mocked the apparent mimicry with biting humor, while others posted messages of encouragement, urging the public to consider the humanity of someone thrust into the unforgiving spotlight of American politics. On platforms like Reddit and Twitter, long threads dissected the minutiae of every sentence, while YouTube commentators produced side-by-side analyses, drawing hundreds of thousands of views. The story became not only about Melania's words, but about the very nature of public judgment, media amplification, and the way a single speech could ignite a national conversation about originality, intent, and fairness. Interestingly, this polarized public reaction also underscored a broader cultural discussion about women in the political spotlight. Many defenders of Melania pointed out that she was navigating a world historically dominated by men stepping into a role with almost no prior experience and doing so under the microscope of a nation that tends to scrutinize women far more harshly than men. For some, this context transformed the controversy from a simple question of textual similarity into a reflection on the double standards women face in public life, especially women who are married to powerful men and expected to balance support, visibility, and independence all at once. Even amid jokes, criticism, and viral commentary, a segment of the public seemed to recognize the delicate balancing act she faced, maintaining dignity, expressing personal values, and asserting a sense of agency while contending with extraordinary public attention. In the end, the public reaction to Melania Trump's speech was a vivid display of the polarized nature of modern American discourse, amplified by social media's immediacy and reach. For every accusation of plagiarism, there was a defense rooted in empathy, context, and recognition of her inexperience in politics. For every mocking meme, there was a post celebrating her poised composure and the effort required to step into a national stage under such intense scrutiny. The incident revealed not only the power of social media to shape narratives in real time, but also the deeply personal and emotional nature of public judgment, where admiration, skepticism, and criticism coexist in an often overwhelming cacophony. Melania's debut on the political stage was in this sense not only an introduction, but a trial by fire, one that would define public perception, challenge her resilience, and illuminate the complex interplay between celebrity politics and the relentless gaze of an engaged, vocal, and divided public. The controversy surrounding Melania Trump's 2016 Republican National Convention speech left a lasting mark not only on public perception, but also on the way the media, political analysts, and the American public viewed her role in the political sphere. Almost immediately, questions arose about her involvement in the crafting of her own speech. Had she written it herself, or had she relied entirely on speechwriters? And if she had, how much control did she truly have over the words she delivered on such a critical stage? The allegations of plagiarism, whether intentional or not, cast a shadow over her political debut, prompting a broader discussion about authenticity, agency, and the role of spouses in highly publicized political campaigns. For many observers, what had begun as a ceremonial introduction to the future First Lady transformed into a test of credibility and competence. In the months and years that followed, every appearance Melania made was scrutinized in the context of that initial speech. The media tracked her closely, analyzing the tone, content, and style of her public remarks, looking for continuity or deviation from what had been presented in Cleveland. Comparisons were made with other First Ladies, with commentators dissecting her mannerisms, word choices, and even her body language. Interviews, televised appearances, and public addresses became opportunities for journalists and the public alike to evaluate her presence and influence. The scrutiny highlighted an unspoken reality in the political world. Every word, gesture, and expression carries weight, and past controversies can linger indefinitely, shaping the narrative around a figure's competence and authenticity. The lasting impact of the speech controversy extended beyond Melania herself to the broader political landscape. It served as a cautionary tale for campaign speechwriters and public figures, illustrating the importance of meticulous preparation, thorough review, and rigorous sourcing. In today's media environment where every speech can be recorded, archived, and instantly compared to historical texts, even minor lapses can spiral into major controversies. The lesson was clear: political messaging is not just about the ideas conveyed, it is about the perception of integrity, originality, and accountability. A single misstep can ripple through the public consciousness, influencing how a figure is perceived for years to come. Beyond the technical lessons, the episode also underscored the human dimension of political life. Melania's experience illustrated the challenges faced by individuals stepping into the spotlight for the first time, particularly in roles that carry symbolic and cultural significance. The scrutiny of her speech, while often harsh, highlighted the delicate balancing act required to maintain both personal dignity and public credibility. It revealed the pressures of navigating an arena where personal expression, political loyalty, and public expectation intersect in ways that few civilians ever experience. For Melania, the controversy became a defining moment, an initiation into the realities of public life at the highest level, where every action is analyzed, every word measured, and every gesture interpreted for its political resonance. Ultimately, the 2016 convention speech controversy left an indelible mark on Melania Trump's public persona. It illuminated the complexities of political debut, the intense scrutiny faced by those in the public eye, and the enduring significance of preparation and authenticity. While the incident brought criticism and skepticism, it also provided a powerful learning experience, highlighting that in politics, perception is as crucial as content, and that even minor lapses in diligence can become magnified under the unrelenting gaze of the media and the public. The episode served as a reminder that the role of a public figure is never static. It evolves continuously under observation, where every speech appearance and action contributes to the ongoing construction of reputation, influence, and legacy. In the end, the lesson was unmistakable in political life. Meticulous preparation, careful sourcing, and awareness of public perception are not just advisable, they are essential. The 2016 Republican National Convention was more than just a political event. It was a moment of symbolic significance, marking Melania Trump's first steps into the glaring spotlight of American politics. On that stage, she moved with poise and grace, introducing herself to a nation that had long known her as a model, a wife, and a mother, but now faced the emergence of a public figure navigating the complexities of political visibility. Her speech, while carefully crafted, sparked a question that lingered in the minds of viewers. Was the resemblance to Michelle Obama's words merely a coincidence, or was it intentional? This ambiguity captivated the public, leaving an open-ended mystery for debate. Beyond the controversy, Melania's presence highlighted a distinctive style that would come to define her political persona: subtle yet noticeable, reserved yet commanding attention through elegance and measured gestures. In stepping into the national stage, she demonstrated that influence in politics is not always loud or overt. Sometimes it is the quiet, composed presence that leaves the strongest impression. And as we reflect on that moment, the question remains: do you see it as coincidence or deliberate? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share your perspective. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the lives and stories behind public figures.